Hey, it's Jose Galison. This is No Way Jose. You can find me on the No Way Jose YouTube channel. You can also find me on all the major podcatchers and Odyssey as well. Today, my guest is Orion, i.e. at SpaceCat2K on Twitter. He's one of my patrons, and he had an idea for a show. And one of my Patreon perks for the $10 level is basically going to curate an episode. So, I mean, and I say that within reason. Like, it needs to be a topic I can actually speak on, because otherwise it'll be a shit podcast. And it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be in the show. It could be maybe you pick the guest topic, whatever. For this one, I'm actually having Space Cat or Orion on, and I think this will be a good one. He picked the topic being agorism versus secession, or whether it's even really versus at all, and we'll talk on that. For right now, this is a live stream for those watching. It is public. I changed up my format a little bit, and I'll explain to you guys why. But it is public right now on the 18th of December. I will put this as unlisted immediately after, and it will go. I'll release it as a public numbered episode later. For just rundown, patrons, for the minimum, it's a $2 to get the basic things, and then there's a $5 for a chat preference, a $10 for the episode like we're doing here, and then $20 for the sponsors. On the sponsor level, I'll read them off every time. So I have CD McRae of the Whiskey and Tea podcast as sponsors. Great podcast you guys should go check out. Jermaine Vincent, he's in a podcast, but he's the fucking dude. Orion, or at SpaceCat2K, that I have on now as well. And Jacob Winograd of the Daniel 3 Biblical Anarchy podcast. I've been on his shows multiple times. He's been on my show multiple times. He was on my show like way back at the beginning. He's got a good show. You should definitely check him out. It's patreon.com, just No Way Jose 2020 if you guys want to do that. Just a real quick why I changed the format now, because it was before. What I was doing is I was doing behind the paywall, only for patrons. I was doing the live stream, and it was, you only had access to it if you had that, and it would be like an unlisted video. But then the problem is I wasn't able to do super chats, and I mean, I like super chats. I mean, you know, that's good. But I'm trying to have like a balance to reward my patrons. But I wasn't able to figure out a way to do super chats. I don't know if there's a way to do that. Someone knows out there how. I tried to mess with it and mess with the monetization settings, but it wouldn't let me. So the current plan right now is I'm going to do the public live streams. So if you're a subscriber, you'll see the notification, but it will immediately go away after the stream, and I will release it later. So you still, like, if you want to have access to the meantime, I will not promote it on like, unless it's like a huge guest, I won't like promote it on like social media and stuff. That way people won't have the link. They can go to the unlisted. I mean, obviously, if you're quick on the draw and you save it, you can do that as well. But I mean, whatever. It'd definitely be easier. If you're a patron and you don't like that, let me know. I mean, I can consider changing back. I mean, it didn't seem like a lot of you guys were really doing the behind the paywall live streams, anyways. So I mean, but if that's something you guys like, let me know, and I'm definitely willing to go back to that. It was just a matter of that, because what my $5 levels, the super chat preference, or basically it's you do $5 a month instead of $2, and I give you a little code, and it works out as if you're doing a super chat. I see that code, like a word, and I go, oh, that guy, so I mean, it's somewhat in the honor system. I guess you could give it out, or you could, be a sleuth and check this stream, but I don't really feel like anyone's gonna go that amount of trouble. So a little bit of the honor system to some extent. You only get access on the Patreon to that code if you're the $5 level or up, and then that would allow me to be able to see that and go, oh, I'm going to read that. But since I wasn't able to figure out the super chat thing, an unlisted one, there's a little bit of inside baseball, and I'm probably boring you guys, but I just want to make sure my patrons are happy. If this isn't something you like, let me know. I'm definitely completely willing to change it back. But yeah, anyways, to plug the homies real quick. Tower Gang coming up on the 21st. Once again, if you're watching this when it's released publicly, I'm giving you the dates, that way it's already out. But if you're watching it publicly, it's not out yet. But we're going to be having on Crip Daddy on the 21st on Tower Gang. He's a crippled comedian, so that should be fun. He's fucking hilarious. You guys should definitely go check him out on Twitter. His pinned tweet's hilarious. It's a fucking little bit he does on not being molested by his uncle. It's pretty good. And then we have Dave Smith's coming on the 30th for our 50th episode. It's going to be like a year in review type thing, so that should be really killer. I'm looking forward to that on Tower Gang. For Reed, he's got on the 18th. Well, not the 18th. It's the 19th. I meant to change that. Put it wrong in my notes. So tomorrow, or, if you're catching this publicly, it'll be like a week. It'll already be up for you to watch. He's having Maria Farner on his show, who is a Epstein victim. As always, go check out TopLobsta, toplobsta.com. Use Jose at checkout for 10% off. I mean, for those who aren't aware, we are partnered up with me and the Tower Gang homies. So basically Tower Gang Incorporated, whatever you want to call it. It's we're kind of starting to, you know, cement things a little bit in that sense as well. We are. That would be me, you know, No Way Jose. That would be Liberty Lockdown. That would be Naturalist Capitalist, and that'd be Tower Gang. All of us. I mean, I guess you got Josh as well. So we're kind of all partnered with. So Josh will break the cycle. We're all kind of partnered with TopLobsta. So that yeah. So definitely go check that out. You know, it helps us out if you do it. And just through a little heads up, like pretty much for Tower Gang stuff, any little bit of money, we've decided as a group that for the year, any bit of money we get is going into promotions. So if you guys want to really see Tower Gang blow up, and then as an effect, obviously it would be like me on No Way Jose, and then Clint and, you know, Reed, those guys helping us blow up. Because I mean, we're looking hopefully to, you know, start getting putting up promos on like, I don't know, like fucking Part of the Problem, Legis Gang, stuff like that, just different stuff like that. We're looking to grow the show, and we think we do have a winning success with Tower Gang, or a winning formula Tower Gang. It's seems to be where things are going. I mean, it's probably one of the fastest growing shows. Yeah. What else do I got? Oh, real quick, I want to address this. I mean, I feel kind of gay to ever bring it up because it is kind of stupid Twitter drama, but I did want to let you guys know what's going on. Stacy for Truth, she just recently posted on her channel like a 14-second video of some shit I said out of context on Reed's show forever ago in regards to like a domestic abuse thing. So there's, I mean, obviously it was edited, it makes me look bad. I mean, I don't even really care, to be honest. My take is on it is if you want to show your ass, I mean, go for it. I mean, I would rather not have beef with Stacy. I've met her in real life. She's an absolute sweetheart. I don't know what is going on here. I don't know if it's disingenuous, if it's ignorance. I don't know. I honestly don't care either. It's kind of one of those things where people show you who they are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd like for her to prove me wrong. Hopefully things change. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't really care. I'm only bringing it up so you guys know. So if you guys hear any like craziness about fucking domestic abuse or some shit, I would suggest if you are interested in it, you go fucking check out the full video or the full podcast I did with Reed. It's on his channel. It's called I believe the title is Liberty Drama. I still stand by that. This is fucking drama. This whole thing that's originated from was he said, she said, and still he said, she said. There hasn't really been anything of substance that's come out. And that's fine. I'm not even really I never really wanted to get embroiled in all this nonsense. My whole point was that like you shouldn't be bringing your shit to Twitter, and if you are, you should probably come with fucking receipts if you want people to just immediately jump to a side. I'm still not on a side. That's the funny part of all this. I'm literally been neutral from the beginning. I don't really take one side or the other. I really feel like it's something that shouldn't have been brought to Twitter in the first place. But if you are going to bring it to Twitter, you should bring receipts. And my other main point when that came up was that if you're someone that doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about, like just some random Twitter person, when it's something like this in regards to domestic abuse, and if you don't really have any more info than the very basics that we got off of Twitter, then you probably should shut the fuck up. And I mean, that it really is. I mean, maybe have a comment here, maybe joke, whatever. But if you're trying to seriously cast accusations or jump to one side or shit on one person or the other, you're completely out of line. And the irony of how I got embroiled in that on like Twitter in the first place is actually taking the supposed victims or whatever side. Not even necessarily side. Someone was shitting on her, and that's when it started. And then from there was the Reed episode and blew up, and everybody took what I said and fucking didn't interpret it in good faith whatsoever, to the point where it's almost like I have a hard time believing anyone could hear that and interpret it in a disingenuous way. But whatever. Also, if you do really want to even further look into it, Reed did another full episode, because this is something that's happened before. These groups of people have been coming after us for a fucking while. And yeah, so he did an episode, and I believe it's called My Defense Against Bullshit Accusations, and he completely breaks it down, shows receipts, everything. He got permission from multiple people involved in the whole situation that he could release the specific receipts, breaks it down. This is super inside baseball, but if you really, 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 really want to get down to the bottom and see what really happened, I don't really care to recap all of it here. Go check that out. Maybe don't just take 14-second clips at their face. Or do. I don't fucking care. Either way, if you come at me like a fucking asshole online or whatever, I will block you immediately. I don't give a shit. So, I mean, it is what it is. Which, like I said with Stacy, I blocked her already. This isn't the first time it's happened with her either. So, I didn't that time because I met her in real life. So I kind of gave her a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt than I do a normal person. And I mean, she was an absolute sweetheart. So I don't know what's going on. She has some shit to work on in her life. I hope she fixes it if that's the case. I don't know. I also don't kind of care. So I mean, whatever. If you guys, like I said, if anyone wants to think one way or the other about me, I really don't give a shit. If you're someone who takes 14 second clips at their fucking face value, then you're probably not really the person I want to be in my audience anyways. So I'm fine with that. And now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Orion. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is fun stuff. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. I don't get involved in Twitter drama that much. So like
I
saw the clip. I saw the clip and I'm just like, yeah, there's gotta be way more context to that than just 14 seconds.
Yeah, there's way more. Yeah, the funny thing too is that whole little bit from that like podcast, it was only like we only talked for like 5 minutes about it, and then it was like we didn't really go that deep. Like I said, it literally was me taking a neutral position and being like, hey, you guys don't have that much information. It really could be you have zero context for the entire situation. It could be a million different things. So whatever. For those, I guess I'll get a little more context. For those who don't know, this is the whole Kevin Hobby. He was, I think, the head of the Oklahoma chair LP a while back, and I guess he came out and I don't know if she did prior or what, but there were domestic abuse accusations. He came out and he resigned, and he put out a statement saying, "Hey, I pushed her. I feel really bad. That was it. I mean, that was it. I'm not saying that was it, and like to downplay it. Like, I mean, pushing, anyone if you were unprovoked is not okay. But that was all the context we had. So I was just kind of like, this is all you guys are going off of, and you guys are dragging one side or the other, because there were people dragging her and there were people dragging him. So it was really fucking stupid. And because I just did that, it was dumb. Sorry, I don't mean to keep going into this. It just happened before this, so I figured it was a good chance for me to address it for anyone who wants to. I mean, just so you guys people know where I stand. A lot of people are getting really worked up about it because it's Pete's fiance, which I have respect for Pete and Stacy as well. I don't know what's up her ass. I hope Pete can stay out of it. I don't. I mean, I think he probably will. I really like Pete. I've met him in real life as well too. These are both people I met in real life and, really enjoyed their presence. So I don't know. I don't get it. It is what it is. But not to keep focusing on that. You want to introduce yourself real quick? I mean, I guess I kind of already did, but if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, I mean, maybe if you want to tell your story, whatever, or just say who you are, that's your prerogative.
Well, I'm Orion. I'm our Space Cat 2K on Twitter. I have the occasional lukewarm take that leftists see as fucking nuclear and bad at all costs, because it destroys their narrative of this bullshit that, hey, we should control what people think about a certain subject. Just like how we got to this whole podcast today, Secession versus counter-economics or agorism. So I also shitpost a lot. Just know that if you ever follow me.
Yeah. No, and, yeah, you definitely do. But go on, sorry.
And I would also like to thank Jose for getting me into the liberty and anarchy movement, because he was one of the first people who like I found, and I was just like, hey, this guy seems interesting. Maybe I should like read up on what he's talking about. And it's just like, yeah, now I'm an agorist.
Well, that's cool. That's actually a good point. I forgot to put that in my notes, but I meant to, and I was thinking about it earlier. I kind of want to know how you found my show and what appealed to it. Not to kind of flagellate, to kind of, fillet me a little bit, but I am kind of curious. It is kind of nice to know if you're actually making a difference, because my show's not that big, but it is weird when you get to a point where you have people in your DMs telling you, thank you for doing this, and or you even I've had legit people that are like giving me little mini essays and timestamps and breaking down shit. I'm like, okay, man, like I didn't even put this much work into this episode, but okay. So, but it is surreal how this kind of works out and being like a niche micro internet celebrity. So
like so like earlier this year, back when your channel was just starting, I believe it was earlier this year. I was getting into the whole anarchy subject in general, because back like late 2020, I was still considered myself a libertarian. I believed in the partyarchy, as we call it. But I was just like, you know what? I keep seeing all these people shitting on me. I might as well see what they're fucking talking about. So I figured, I see this one guy who's like, just like absolutely funny, because I kind of attract myself to like I kind of am compelled by funny people. So like I kind of gravitate towards them, I'd say. So I saw your tweets and shit, and I was just like, "Oh, this guy seems funny." And I saw Sal the Agorist tweets. So like I look up you guys on YouTube, and I'm just like, "Yeah, I might as well just read up." And I've read Konkin. This was like a while back, like around April, May. So like my memory's really shit. Not gonna lie. So I'm still rereading Agorism Primer and the New Libertarian Manifesto, but yeah, I'm basically contributing to it because like soon I'm going to be working for my brother in his small company. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do some stuff off the table if he's fine with it.
Well, yeah, hell yeah. That's great. Like, I do think, I mean, people give this accusation of being like, oh, you should all go, be the guy in the woods or whatever. And I'm not, my life's not 100% counter economics or 100%, agorist or whatever, but I do think you should try your best to move it that way. It's kind of like I had Jason Stapleton on before. It's kind of really a similar concept of wealth, power, and influence. Just the idea of getting yourself set up and part of being in a good place, so far as wealth or in general is, I think, not being dependent on things, especially things that can, pull the rug out from under you, like the government or things in bed with the government, which, the further we get along with this, the more things that is, but then also on the other hand, the more things that are outside the purview of the government as well. As the government grows, so does the agora. And so, yeah. And to full honesty, I've only read the Agorism or Libertarian Manifesto, Agorism or Agorist Primer, and Agorist Class Theory once each. And I moved on to other stuff. I'm right now I'm slowly working through Agorist Primer as a live reading with Caleb Brown, the Faith, Liberty, and Praxis. I think I got that right. Podcast. So I mean, we'll keep moving. So it's kind of cool revisiting some of it to see if maybe I don't agree, because there's a lot. I do get kind of into arguments with some other agorists, and I clearly have different takes than a lot of agorists do. But it's like, it's also in my head, I'm like, well, this is kind of what I got from reading it. I mean, maybe I misinterpreted it over time and things have changed it, but it's always kind of cool going back and reading it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we should, I mean, I don't know, I guess would be a while, but eventually I'll probably do a live reading of New Libertarian Manifesto. So, I mean, maybe I'll keep you in mind for that or somebody. So, because it is cool to go back and reread that stuff, but it is like, there's so many goddamn books. It's like, do you want to reread a book? But I get it. But out of curiosity, what do you remember what your first video you saw of mine was? I'm trying to see how far back this was.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'd have to check my YouTube history for that, but I'm pretty sure it was around the 10th episode, I'd say.
Oh, wow. That was way back there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 10, 11, or 12.
Give him a second. There we go.
I'm just really thinking it's 10, 11, or 12, but yeah, for the life of me, I can't remember the title because it was so long ago. And I've been meaning to go back and watch your videos from like the beginning of when you started your channel to like now. But I've just been busy talking with friends, trying to find because like I got fired recently, but I do have a backup job that I'm gonna work at until I can move back down, work with my brother, etc. So
yeah. No, that is wild though. You're that far back. I wouldn't suggest any of the listeners here go back and check out my super old episodes, because I wouldn't want to check out my super old episodes. I mean, I like to think I've improved, but I don't know. Whatever. But it is always weird going back and seeing some of your old takes or old, because I know back then I wasn't even like, didn't have my like video and audio set up. Not even that I necessarily have high production value now, but it's still like, you look back at when you had lower production value, you're like, oh fuck. But maybe that's just me. I feel like everyone's their own worst critic. But enough filleting me. Let's go back to the topic. So I guess I'll have you intro the idea of the topic, and I kind of want to get your take, and then we can take it from there. And then once we're done with that, we can have, if you have any other questions you want to talk about while I have you here, because like I said before, I think before we start recording this, I don't know how long we can really take this topic. I'll take it as long as we can. I don't know how many different avenues, because I have a pretty simple take on it. I'm looking forward to hearing yours. Maybe they'll have more avenues to go down. But so go ahead and take it away. Go ahead and intro it and kind of give your take.
Okay, so like kind of like the backstory and the quick and dirty of it is, a few months back I just said secession. I just did like the Lysander Spooner take of like secession good, abolition good, slavery bad, union bad, Confederacy bad. I just did like the basic bitch Spooner, and people got really, really mad over it. Like I just like I just had a bunch of people coming at me. And I'm just like, wow, good thing I know how to shut off notifications. So like, I remember like a week after or something, I tweeted, secessionism is the state's equivalent of a boogaloo or counter economics, which I've kind of changed my theory on that a bit, but it's still prevalent there. So my thought behind it is secession essentially means the division of the state, and it creates either one from one state, it creates two new ones, either that or it keeps the former state, but it weakens it severely. But either way, it strengthens the power of the individual and leads to further greater autonomy for people as a whole.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of similar to my take. I know I've heard a lot of agorists, complain about secession or make bad cases for it, or not bad cases, but basically kind of put it in a bad light. And here's my take. Like I kind of see secession somewhat, not entirely, so I'm not at all saying this is entirely it, but a byproduct of agorism or counter economics, because I think that kind of furthers, like that kind of activity or mentality furthers the fucking that kind of thought, that breaking away, and I do think that will infect it to the states as well. But I would say I do find soft secession or nullification preferable, and what I mean by that is a not formalized. But like that's my preference. But if it's formalized, whatever. Either way, the more it breaks up, the better. But I think soft secession or soft nullification is preferable, and what I mean by that is something like not formalized. So. Or maybe even like semi-formalized. So, and there's been a kind of a lot of this in the age of COVID and stuff, with some states being kind of like, well, fuck you, I'm not doing that. And I mean, I guess you could make it, some of them are kind of formalized, but not entirely. I mean, there is kind of this idea of that's supposed to be the federal government sort of has control. Obviously, I know a lot of like constitutionalists will argue that, but that is the current interpretation, at least by the mainstream. But if we can break away from that in any way, I'm fine with that. Like, far be it for me to complain when Florida's like, fuck you, I'm not doing this COVID shit. Like, okay, like, yeah, that's cool. I think that is bred out of the same sort of mentality of, fuck you, I do what I want. And I think having more people within a given area that are like, fuck you, I'm not doing that, I think that does have its effect on the larger, populace and politics at large. One thing I did want to bring up is, and this kind of sort of goes into the soft secession for nullification, is James Lindsay, who was just on Clint's show a while back, with the Libertarian Redhead, and it was a really good episode. And I'd seen him on Twitter post this, but I heard him talk about a little bit in the episode. And he was talking about how, like, instead of that it might be better if, certain states start grouping together. And that way they have more of a support structure to be able to butt back against this shit. And I do think there are possible downfalls to secession and shit like that in the formalized sense, in that it can have issues. Like, I mean, obviously everyone knows the Civil War. I'm not saying at all that's always the effect. There totally can be peaceful balkanization or whatever, but I think the more formalized it is, the more you open yourself up to that. So that's why I think something like James Lindsay proposed might actually be preferable to like states being like, well, it's hard for me to say fuck you by myself, but as a group, we are as a group, we are as one, we are a stick, but as a group, we are a mighty faggot or whatever, that kind of thing. Like together, they're able to more likely be like, fuck you, I do what I want. And there's not this formalized aspect of it. And it is kind of this, like, because ideally in my head, I don't really necessarily need any sort of formalized breakdown of structures. An informalized version is even better to me. More people being like, no, I'm doing what I wanted, and that type mentality. Because I think states, whether individually as or a group, start saying to the federal government, fuck you, I'm not doing that. But the less formalized, the better. The more that opens up to smaller counties or cities or individuals being like, well, if they can break away from this overarching power structure by simply being like, no, why can't we? And I do think there is definitely there's something to that. I mean, maybe there's some agorists that tell me otherwise. I don't know. I don't really care. Like I said before, Agorist is just a placeholder for the best thing that identifies me. I'm not necessarily like tied to everything Conkin ever said. Yeah, so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, if I threw anything in there that like really made you think, because yeah, I mean, but I think it sounds like we're kind of similar on there, but I guess my take is just more that like that is to some extent also a byproduct of this vague mentality that comes along with agorism, and that like, no, I don't really have to do that, because like I've even said before that like, you know, that doesn't mean I'm saying you need to go out and vote for secession or vote for this or vote for that. I'm just saying like just the simple fact that you are like, no, and you have this mentality, I do feel like that affects the populace, that affects other voters, and they see you behaving like that, and then that affects their thinking of like, well, he's kind of just doing what he wants, doesn't really give a shit about the state. Why should the state give a shit what the federal government does? And like I think every little individual thing we do affects others. So even being a non-voter or non-politically active, I think it has an effect on people who are politically active and who do vote. So I don't know if I threw anything at you there.
Well, I mean, like I'm
you there, did I lose you?
Wait, what? Oh shit.
Did I lose you for a second? Hey, did you catch any of that?
I caught that. I caught all that.
Okay. So I just wondered if that gave you any thoughts, if you have anything on that.
So like the one thing that really caught me was what you said about the Clint Russell, what's his name?
Yeah, Clint Russell's Liberty Lockdown. Yeah. Good shit.
Yeah. The point that states should like form together, which is, I'd say, a pretty good idea, because even though it kind of is threatening to the prospect of individual liberty in some aspects, by like saying, hey, there's a coalition of all these states who are approaching anti-gun regulations, that could be very dangerous. But then again, like still, it's like an individual kind of grouping together. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. So basically, I'm against forced collectivization. So that means collectivization of birth, but voluntary is all fine by me. So if you're willing to join together with people to make a difference in the world, I'm all fine with that. But at like a state level, it's kind of iffy, but still I agree with that message. So yeah, that's actually a really good idea. And I never really thought of that. Well, then again, that is how it was during the Civil War, of course, but
yeah,
not really in like the way not really in the way that I'm thinking of, because I'm thinking of like different coalitions for like different causes, like gun rights, abortion, shit like that, you know?
Yeah, which I mean, I guess I also, even with that kind of stuff, like while it's not ideal, I do like I said before, with the more the authoritarianism grows, the more the agora grows as well. And I think I've said many times, I think the future that we're going to see for this world in general, and even the United States, is we're going to see more authoritarianism and more, libertarianism, or whatever you want to call it, liberty, existing simultaneously, just in different places. And the more decentralized, the better. Like I've said before, that we need an underground railroad of liberty, so to speak. So it's like as opposed to like I know New Hampshire's doing the free state thing. That's good as well. But like ideally, like, yeah, and there might be some states that are more friendly, but then there also might be more like, rural areas or counties or cities or whatever. And it's kind of this like, and you kind of create this loose association. And also to the point too, where that's kind of like the Confederacy. That's also true as well. Like the states kind of grouping together like that, I actually think would make a Civil War type thing less likely, even though that is what they did in the Civil War. But if you just have something like Florida that's like, fuck you, we're not doing this. I feel like if you're the one man out, it's way easier for you to get mobbed as opposed to being a group. But then also, like I said, I don't even necessarily want the formalized. I just want people to be like, we're not doing that. Like, I mean, and what can they do if they just go, we're not doing that? It's when you go, and now we're officially breaking off from you, blah, 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 when it's like, now you introduce a different host of problems. I'm not even necessarily saying I'm against that. I still think it's preferable to have that as opposed to this giant conglomerate we have now. It's just a matter of you can have that without having to formalize it too. So like, it's basically in effect the same thing without, putting yourself at risk as some of the other issues, So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, the whole thing of like the Declaration is a very powerful message, especially if it's in like mainstream media. So basically, even if it's like a small candidate saying "fuck you," we're doing whatever we want, and this gets to like mainstream, people are going to start to realize, hey, wait, if they're getting to do this, then that means we can probably get to do this. It's kind of like the whole thing of like, don't touch the stove as a kid. Your parents say, don't touch the damn stove. And you're just like, you know what? Maybe I'll touch that thing. See, show them. So yeah, like,
go ahead.
I'd say like the more people who do it, I'd say the better, because because fear is like the main control of the government nowadays. Especially the federal, with what we're seeing with COVID and all that shit. So basically, like, if you show people that you aren't afraid, they start to get afraid, and that's the best thing that we can do is a movement entirely.
Yeah, and that actually plays into my other point I was getting at earlier, where like if you show you're not afraid, it will take, and it's almost like we're existing in this world where we have people with two different sets of values. And obviously you could say there's more than two, but just to make it simplified for our discussion here, it's kind of authority and liberty. And so by you not being scared, this will make some people more scared, but on the other hand, it will also make some people less scared. And so it is kind of, and it depends on what these people's values are. If they value liberty, they're more likely to be the ones that see you being like that. And that kind of makes them go, oh, well, I don't, I can behave in this manner, or, move towards liberty or what have you. Whereas on the other people, it drives them towards their camp. And I'm fine with that. If you like your chains, you can have them. I'm like, I guess, like I've said before, I see the future. If I had to make a guess, I'd see the future as being like mostly city, like, smart cities that are like authoritarian nightmares. And you're going to have more rural areas that are going to be a little bit less. And the more of a dichotomy you can create between these two entities, the more it makes it voluntary in a sense, because the more it becomes obvious that like, well, here's this place over here that has liberty, and here's this place over here that doesn't. And I get it. There's like this cult effect, but it does increase that divide. It increases the apparency of what's going on. And I think that's a good thing, because there are people who do like their chains, and who, far be it for me to take that from them, So, I mean, ideally, I think, one day we get to a magical world where that's not the case. I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime. It's not at all to say I don't think we'll see anarchy or more libertarian-ish places in our lifetime, but the idea we'll see a free world in our lifetime, or even lifetimes to come, or even ever, is a little bit of a pipe dream. And, like, if I vaguely remember from Konkan, I think he even said that, even like a lot of people accuse him of being utopian, that we're going to like take down the state. I mean, I might be wrong because it's been a while since I read, but I'm pretty sure even he said that like, even then there will be like likely to be pockets of authoritarianism. And, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's kind of, because at its base, all that authoritarianism is, in a, libertarian authoritarian dichotomy sense, is just the belief in illegitimate authority. So, I mean, I like to equate a lot to racism, because it's kind of like, like people all the time, bitch about racism, and they want to get rid of it. And it's like, I mean, obviously this isn't a 1-for-1 exchange, because I'm actually completely, like, I may not like it on an individual level, but I don't think there's anything not libertarian about being racist, as long as you're not hurting people. But that same idea applies. What is racism? Racism is just the belief that certain classes or, demographics are lesser or even better than you. And, how you can't just like, there's not this magical wand you can change. It changes everyone's mind. That's kind of to some extent what, statism is, or whatever, because it's just a belief in illegitimate authority. And I mean, you're never going to be able to completely, expunge that. And I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's to some extent a condition of humanity. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything else on that. If not, I'll read some of the chats. And then if you have any other questions you want to bring up, aside from the topic.
Yeah, I can fully understand like the voluntary authority thing, because like see, for example, Anacoms, they want to destroy all authority pretty much. That's all I pretty much see. Mm-hmm. The problem is, what if people want that? Doesn't that make you technically an authority over them, telling them what they can and cannot choose with their own lives? The problem is to what extent of the authority is reaching. Like, is it saying, hey, I'm just gonna pay you like $5 a year, and this is going to be like in a contract saying, hey, here's $5, do shit with it to help make my life better and yours as well. If that's like completely voluntary, I'm fine with it. But if it's like forced to where they're doing what they're doing now, putting essentially a gun to your head, saying you pay, we're going to throw your ass in jail, where you're probably going to get raped, you're probably going to get beaten, you're probably going to get no parole for life, all because you don't want to pay 5 cents to Uncle Sam.
Yeah. It's a good point. I actually was reading Kropotkin today for my Anarchist Handbook series, just kind of reading into it, and I haven't picked a person for it yet. I don't really know. I'm gonna probably struggle with some of the lefties, but it was kind of cool. I mean, I haven't read all of it. I haven't read all of Kropotkin's work, so if I'm wrong, but some of the stuff, while it was like kind of embedded in commie language, it was very much It was very much God, my fucking computer's being weird. It was very much God, I'm on a brain fart. He was definitely describing like covenant communities, like communist covenant communities, the way it sounded to me. And I'm kind of like, well, I think that will fail. I also don't give a shit. If you voluntarily agree to go into like a communist covenant community, I'm completely fine with that. And that's consistent with our private property values as well, for those who understand covenant communities. So whatever, go for it, So yeah. See. Go ahead if you got anything to say. I gotta check my. I don't know what's going on. Are you there?
The whole thing with you, yeah. The whole thing with you saying like like voluntary covenant communities and how he co-opted language. That's the one thing I've always been fascinated about with anarchists. Like whenever I first really started researching them, they kind of like co-opt things that other people value. Like Spooner, he co-opted the Constitution, even though he probably didn't give a shit about it. Cerner, I haven't really read much of him. I got Ego in Its Own, but it's been like I've just been so busy having to like look for new stuff to like a new job. I have to look after my mom, kind of, etc. So yeah, there's that. There's plenty of others like definitely Rothbard using the whole veil of like the new right and all that with getting conservatives to kind of join the liberty movement, so to speak. Kind of like the whole Ron Paul thing. Like people see him as kind of like a conservative, but they also see him as a libertarian. So like it's kind of like one of those things where it's you flip a coin, but it's still the same coin.
Yeah. Well, all right. I don't know. Like I said, if you have anything else, I'm gonna look at some of these. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut it short, but I just realized my charger's not working for some weird ass reason. Anthony Giovanni says I want to be interviewed by Jose. That'd be cool. Like I said, that is the $10 perks for the patrons if you want to do that. Michael Trevino also said, as an egoist, one must maneuver with the realities one lives within and without. Yep.
Yeah.
Did Clint get a strike? No, not that I know of. Mike makes right. Mike makes right. It's a harsh reality, one which must be realized, so people are prepared, come what may. A union of egoists is a non-local alliance of individuals desiring sovereignty. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I definitely like Stirner's idea of a union of egoists.
Yeah, I heard about that, and that always really intrigued me, the union of egoists, because it's voluntary collective, like I was saying earlier, and the great part about it is it's a voluntary collective of people saying, we're definitely saying fuck you, even to everything that you value. Even if you're an anarchist, we're still saying fuck you to that, because I'm not gonna lie, some anarchists do believe in morality, which I'm kind of like on the fence with that myself. Because like, if I want to do something, I'll just fucking do it. But if I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it, that's up to me. It shouldn't be up to like something someone else said.
Yeah, no, I've definitely talked before. I don't believe in objective morality, but I do believe there are preferable modes of morality, and you can apply that to like a utilitarian view, which everyone like shies away from that, like it's bad. But I don't necessarily think that's bad. I mean, I guess, but yeah. With that, like I said, my charger's dying. So I think I have like 10% left. I've got to figure out what's going on with this charger. But if you have any other questions, let me know. And if any super chats come out in the meantime, we'll address them. But if not, we'll go ahead and close it up. So if you have anything else to add to that?
I would like to note that that I am really thinking about getting some of the leftist stuff. What should I really get into? Would you say
leftist stuff?
Like leftist anarchist, because I'm not reading fucking Marx. That's like, unless I want to like read him so I can really dunk on his proponents, I guess I will, but that's not going to be likely in the future.
I'll be honest, I haven't read a lot of leftist literature. I've read obviously Stirner, which people like kind of credit him as being a leftist, but I think he kind of like in a sense transcends political philosophy. He's kind of like almost something you could have that undergirds that. But he is very commonly associated with leftist stuff. But I don't know. I've read the stuff in the Anarchist Handbook, and that's probably the extent of my leftist reading. But they were. I was very surprised. One that's like a leftist, but also in some kind of ways almost isn't. Is that? And I did an episode on it with Ace from my Anarchist Handbook series. Was God,
Benjamin Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker's good from the one essay I read in there. But pretty much all the ones I haven't finished the Kropotkin one yet, so I don't know all the conclusions he comes to. So I can't really completely vouch if I think I necessarily agree with them, but even then they're all, I guess, even if you don't agree with it, it's good reading. But I know I thought Proudhon seemed pretty good from the essay I saw in there, and I don't know if I've read the Bakunin one yet, but I like the Kropotkin one so far. I'm doing me wrong, my ANCAP brain like fucking spurred for a lot of the shit in there, and I was like, no. But but then you see what they're calling for, and they're calling for anarchy and to basically be as individuals and not have this coercive thing. They just have this idea they're going to somehow shun off private property in the process. And I'm like, okay, whatever, as long as you leave me alone, I don't really give a shit. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's basically what I've been my whole life. Like, just leave me alone. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Just leave me alone. Yeah. As long as you don't hurt anyone else, just leave me alone. Like, yeah. Well, really, the whole hurting people, it depends on like if they consent. Like, if it's like something sexual, obviously I won't care. But if it's like a child, I will probably fucking kill you.
Yeah, which that's a lot of people get mad at like Stirner for his might makes right thing. That's kind of one of his points. People always accuse him of being the one because he's like might makes right. So like if you can do it, it's your right. And people give him shit for that. Be like, oh well, they immediately always go to the pedo one where he's like, oh well, then if it's in your right to molest, I guess then you can molest kids, right? And it's like, well, I mean, sort of, but then it also means that if you as someone who doesn't like that and you feel like you have the ability to do it, like if you're in a community that completely frowns upon this. And then you get fucking murked by someone for, diddling a kid, and the community doesn't do anything about it. So might made right there, essentially. You basically did something. No one did anything about it. You had no negative consequences in that sense. Then, yeah, I mean, like, might made right there. I mean, like, so you're right. Your right to kill him and his right to diddle the kid when I got up against each other, and your right won. So, like,
yeah, it's basically just like, it's basically who has the bigger stick and who's willing to use it.
Yeah. And even then, like a lot of people see that as bad, but it's like if you apply it to an individualist type perspective, and how this works if you apply this among everyone individually, it kind of makes it so like if everyone has this thought process, not that anyone ever really would, but it's just kind of the idea that it's like, but it's also within your individual benefit to not go around murdering people and not go around diddling kids or whatever. Like, you're going to probably have a very shitty existence if you exist like that. So everyone thinks it's like, oh, this is like, oh, well, go be a warlord. It's like, well, I feel like most people know it's probably not going to work out for them. And, I really feel like you start thinking deeply about these things. You realize that like, hey, well, I mean, I would like to have a free and just society. And if I want that, then I should probably behave in that manner. And that might inspire others to do the same, because I don't like it when people fuck with me. So the best way to go about ensuring that doesn't happen is to not fuck with other people unless they fuck with you. And, I feel like that holds. But yeah, you got any other thoughts or is that it?
Well, I think a great way to parse that for people who don't really understand, because I just thought of this. The reason why people probably think the whole might makes right argument is bad is because they see the state obviously as, hey, the state is the only one who can use might and make it right. So why should an individual do it? I think a great way to parse this actually is by, I'm just going to co-opt kind of my own kind of thought into it. Video games. Think about it like an RPG, doing whatever you want. The thing is, if you go around murdering children and raping people, you're probably going to be number one on the list. And you're basically going to get as far as you can by killing other people. So you're probably going to either be really disliked, you're probably going to be really liked. So yeah, it's kind of just like one of those things. So like if you want, you can use that to like parse it to people who probably wouldn't understand it otherwise. But yeah. Let's see. Stirner went against Marx. Yeah, definitely. I remember that. I remember reading about that. Oh, wait, did he? Oh, boy.
Yep.
Yeah. Did your internet cut off? Because I'm not.
Yeah, it cut off. You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I figured out while it cut off. I figured out what the hell was going on with my charger. I was trying to do it while we were streaming. But
I see.
but yeah, shit. Well, that was super professional of me.
It's fine.
Whatever.
What part did it cut off at?
Oh no,
it did.
I was probably out for like 30 seconds. I mean, I guess you can recap it real quick if you want. Go for it.
It's basically like a good way to co-opt it to like people who don't really understand is like video games. Essentially, you can do whatever you want. It's just there are consequences for your actions. People act like, and this is like the whole thing when I was getting into the Liberty Movement with like Count Dankula. Whenever people were saying that he's going to jail for a speech he should, that's a consequence for his action. The problem is it's like a state consequence rather than a social one. It should always be social rather than a state consequence. Is my belief in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good way to put it in the video game thing, where it's like, I think it's not all video games, because some video games you guys do whatever. Carlos Abelard saw him. Texas will win a World Cup for the U.S. Secession. Orale. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm a very awful.
Orale.
Orale. Yeah. I'm actually Argentinian. My grandpa spoke German. I don't know why.
What's that mean? How does that meme go again? Never ask a man his paycheck. Never ask a man his height, a woman her paycheck, whatever the fuck it is, and never ask an Argentinian his abuela's SS rank.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to put it. For those who know, I'm not actually Hispanic. This is a made up name, but it is fun to play off that. But I don't care. But yeah, by the way, it's Carlos Abelard. It's awesome. He I forget what his name. He has a medical, not medical. He's like a marijuana or like a Delta 8, I think, type of company. Wish I could remember it right now. I see it. It's like a tip of my tongue. I know his company. Like I see it all the fucking time. God, this is gonna bug me that I don't know it because I see it all the time on ads and different shows. Paloma Verde, that's what it is. Paloma Verde. Go check out his stuff. He's great stuff. He's not a sponsor, but just so you know, he's a good Liberty guy. So we should support our own. So if you guys want that, go use Jose at checkout. Just kidding. Don't use that. It won't work. But yeah. So like I am back, guys. Michael Trevino, doesn't all local, state, and federal governments already live within that reality of might makes right? In a Nietzschean sense, it was an individual sense overcoming. And Pelosi says I'm a bad Jose. Yeah. But I don't know if you have anything else. I think we've kind of beat this topic to death. If you have any other questions you want to ask me, we can do that now. If not, we can go and kill it.
Well, I think a good thing to say it with Trevino's comment, doesn't all local, state, and federal governments already live within the reality of might makes right? I'm not sure what he means by Nietzschean sense, but I haven't really read Nietzsche. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's fucking German, Austrian,
yeah,
whatever.
I've read a little bit of Nietzsche, and I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it was like I picked a bad one. I picked the Beyond Good and Evil, and I read like half of it, and it just did not really appeal to me. I have seen like excerpts from stuff for that I thought was good. Maybe I need to read a different book of his. I just got like halfway through and got bored and read something else. But I mean, which is a lot for me. I'm usually pretty good at like if something catches my eye, but there wasn't really too much. But maybe it's another one. Maybe I didn't give it enough chance. I don't know. But I would say that the difference is, yeah, the states live in that paradigm, but the problem is people kind of don't live in that paradigm. And I guess it is also about like understanding. I always use the is-ought when it comes to rights, like natural rights are oughts. Like, you know, the egoist rights are just kind of, you know, how it should be, or not how it should be, how it kind of is to some extent, where it's like, this is really like what is happening. Like you can complain about like, you know, what ought to be, and, you know, those are what natural rights are. And I actually agree. I think that's what ought to be, you know, a rough natural rights, but we're existing in an egoistic sense, and that like that's really what goes on, you know. And yeah, I guess it's kind of I've done touch on that in Sterner episode with Magnus on that, so we go deeper in that. I'm not trying to like go too deep down Sterner unless you really wanna. But
yeah, I remember reading. I remember watching that actually. It was one of my most favorite episodes of yours.
Yeah, no, Sterner is great. It's hard reading. I will give it that, but there's a lot of really cool shit in there. Like I specifically love, not to be like sappy, his bit about love, because he goes into how like love is typically looked at in a lot of ways almost like an obligation, or like you have somebody, but it's like it's almost, he puts it in a sense of where it's like more beautiful, where if it's coming from a place of like because you want to. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of times people have like, say, whether it be familial love or even like marriages sure they'll be like, oh, I'm obligated, but it's like his thing is like, well, I'm with you because I want to be with you. Like you're what I want. Like that's why. Like
yeah,
and it's kind of beautiful. But go ahead.
I remember seeing like a kind of like a clip, an animated clip really of Ayn Rand talking about love, and she said, "I'm doing this because I want to do it, not because anyone else want to do it." And I was thinking, and as I was watching it, this is back when I was a libertarian, so I was thinking that's actually a good way to think about it, because what's the point of me loving something if I just don't love it for what it is? I just love it because it's just there. Like, so like the more like invested you are in something, I'd say the more you love it, probably the more you hate it, depending on which way it swings you. But yeah, I think that's actually a really good way to think about it.
Yeah. Well, I think we're probably at a good place. I know you don't have much to plug, but I guess if you want to plug your Twitter stuff, or if you got anything else you want to plug while you're here, I appreciate you having me. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, this was a fun conversation, definitely. I'm at SpaceCat2K on Twitter. I might upload shit to YouTube eventually, but I don't know. It's probably gonna be stuff like probably gonna be like, because I did do a poll a while back, well, like a few days ago, saying, "Hey, who wants to see me do crazy shit in a video game?" And people are just like, "Yeah, do it, fuck it." So I might do that, but
people eat that shit up, the video game stuff. It's wild. I don't understand people watching people play video games, but it's not really my shtick. But some people do, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's because it's a good way to, I guess probably because it's a good way to limit if you want the game or not, or if you're wanting to see like a way people perceive it, I guess. But other than that, I got nothing else really.
Yeah, no, I get that, but people like legit just watch people play video games for no fucking reason other than to watch them play video games. I don't get it. I mean, I get it for that, like to check out a video game, like a review, whatever. But no, like there are people just, just stream. More power to people. Like what you like. I don't care. It's just not something that's up my alley.
Trevina actually made a good comment. Ayn Rand crib from Sterner Amnesia. That's actually a good point, because I remember, I think you said yourself, a lot of anarchists stole from Sterner, essentially.
I don't know if I necessarily say stole, but you read it and you see it. Like you see Konkin, you see postmodernism, you see Ayn Rand. I mean, probably some other stuff I'm not picking up on. And it is one of those things where it's like, it's hard to tell people straight up stole from him, or not even necessarily stole. I mean, I don't believe in IP, but it is also like, it is weird how you see these things, but it is also it's kind of the same idea too, where a lot of people know that, like, say with like the light bulb, there were multiple people working the light bulb at the same time. It's kind of like ideas kind of have their time. And like, while Sterner did precede these people, it which kind of makes it more impressive, that I actually think in a lot of ways, his was actually in some sense almost which is weird because it happened before. In some sense, I actually think it was a better version of like objectivism, of like postmodernism, of even in some aspects agorism, if you read it. But even though it preceded, which is kind of interesting, it was like he was ahead of his time. But it is like it's one of those things where, like, I guess once those thoughts enter the sphere, that they do kind of just leak in other places. So I definitely wouldn't say that he like either any of them stole from anyone, or not even necessarily stole, but like took inspiration. But it's definitely like you read it, and it's impossible not to see it. I think these other characters.
I didn't really mean steal, but like it's just like I didn't have a different term for it because my brain is running on 2 cans of Monster right now. So
no, me too. I mean, that's just kind of like normal colloquialism. It's just kind of the same thing with like IP in general. We just normally be like, oh, he stole that. And it's like, well, he didn't really steal it, because stealing implies that like it's something you owned or whatever. Like, I mean, not to go into
and you can't really own ideas.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Pretty obvious.
I mean, unless you keep it in your head and you never share it with anyone, like that's the only way.
But even then, people can still get the same idea. Like,
but it won't be your specific idea. But
definitely.
But sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But yeah, it's been really fun talking with you, man.
No, yeah, I really appreciate it. It's nice interacting on social media and DMs occasionally. I definitely, I know I've said before, I'm a very strong block, 10C, but it is nice when people interact with you well. Basically, I'm just my thing when it comes to like blocking or how I interact with social media or in general, like even kind of somewhat in real life, it's just a matter of like identifying who people are that I want to be around. And so like, it's in my block thing. It's kind of like, if you're going to, interact with me in a cunty way, it's like, well, I don't really, want to interact with you. Like, sorry. Like I will, and it's not that I have any problem with people disagreeing with me, but it's like, well, how'd you go about it? Because like and you know what, it has its benefits. Like not to go too much into Twitter and shit, but like I think it's today or maybe even yesterday, I made a I intentionally made a post that was worded in a way that it was like kind of accurate if you gave it a good faith interpretation, but I intentionally did it that way to kind of see who would give it a bad faith interpretation. And I even like made another tweet after, like, hey, I just did this, and we'll see who the bad actors are. And surprisingly, no one did it. I don't know if I've just been doing this kind of thing long enough. I was expecting someone to be shitty, but you kind of create your experience, and that applies to real life as well. And we were kind of talking about Sterner when it comes to like love. Like, I'm not at all someone who thinks that, say you have a family member, even if it's an immediately family member, if you don't enjoy their presence or if you find them toxic, whatever, you have no obligation to fucking interact with them. You don't.
Yeah.
So
I literally have to deal with that myself. I'm gonna go deal with 2 of them at Christmas, so it's gonna be it's fun because I get to say whenever they bring up cops and stuff, I'm just like, I don't care, and it's just like, you should put some respect on them. You should respect. We taught you respect. Your grandfather's in the military. I'm just like, that doesn't mean shit to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like family and stuff a little bit more, being like, and it kind of too applies with like in real life. I think I kind of touched on the Stacy thing. I was hesitant to block because I met in real life, but in that works. But especially if you're just some stranger I meet in real life or online, and if you treat me some sort of way, and if I am able to, in any way later in life curb my interactions with you, I will. Like, why do I want? I have no one's entitled to my time, and if you're someone who makes my experience in this life any way unpleasant, I don't need to be around you. Like, I just don't. Definitely. I mean, it's different if you're my wife, my kids, my immediate family, but even then, to some extent, that kind of applies. But now you have a little bit more. It's a little more entangled with other stuff, in real life. Like, if my wife pisses me off one day, I'm not just gonna leave her. We have a whole life together, so
yeah,
you gotta be a little bit realistic. But also, even then, in a sterner sense, I enjoy my wife's company. I want to be with her. It's a little bit different than just some stranger pissing me off and being like writing him off immediately. Like, we've built up a rapport.
Yeah, I think the difference between like someone you can just cut off immediately and someone who's like direct is probably is definitely like, pick your battles. Like that's what my mom always said when she was raising me. That you need to pick your battles. Just know when to go into a discussion and know when to not, I guess.
Yeah. So
that's just the best thing to do, I guess. But
yeah. Well, with that, my plugs. This is a No Way Jose show on YouTube. I'm on all the major audio podcatchers, on Odyssey as well. If you want to follow me now, I'm at 2020 No Way Jose on Twitter. Like halfway back to my pre-nuking place, which I mean, whatever. Like I said before, if you want to support me at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020, I kind of laid out all the perks earlier. This whole episode right now is a perk, although I did enjoy it. So I mean, once again, it's kind of nice too that it's like sometimes I run out of ideas, so it's good to like kind of have people, incentivize people coming to me with ideas. So that's good. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It's been really great having you. I look forward to more of these. I will let you guys know with this, as my channel grows, as my Patreon grows, I probably will change up the things, because if let's say I ever get to like a super large level, like a fucking, I don't know, not that I'm anywhere near like that, but say I start getting higher, it'd be a little bit silly to do like a $10 for an episode. But I do like this idea of doing this. Because like I said, I do look forward to interacting with people who support me, and with that, we are out. I really appreciate you having me on, having you on, and I look forward to doing this more. And with that, we are out. Oh, you never even plugged your Twitter, did you? I guess I already did.
Oh, no, I did like twice, but
yeah,
I'll do it again. At SpaceCat2K, it's in the name.
Yep. All right, with that, we're out. Appreciate it, man. Stick around.